Your person cried to a friend about your age last night, Elle heard them say. My beloved child. Last night, I overheard words that shattered the ordinary and whispered secrets that no one should ever casually spill. They spoke of time as if it were a thief, snatching years from the soul, leaving only shadows behind. And yet, what struck me most wasn't the counting of years, but the trembling in their voice, the raw vulnerability that slipped past all pretenses. It was in that fragile pause, that almost inaudible sigh, that I realized the weight of what they carried in silence. Have you ever felt the world tilt beneath your feet without warning? That's exactly what happened when I heard them confess to a friend, a revelation draped in quiet horror. They didn't just whisper about age. They revealed regrets, hidden fears, and the silent scars that no mirror can reflect. The way they hesitated before each word, as if the sound itself might shatter the fragile moment, it was unbearable to imagine. And yet, it happened. I was there, a silent witness to a truth that demanded attention. Imagine the kind of secret that changes how you see someone forever. Their words weren't mere complaints or idle talk. They were confessions of lost dreams, of moments never grasped, and opportunities abandoned too easily. Every syllable was a sting, a reminder that life has a way of moving faster than we are ready to follow. I felt my chest tighten as the depth of their sorrow unfolded. And in that room, the air felt heavier, charged with the electricity of truth and the pain of realization. You wouldn't expect someone so close to unravel in this way. There was a raw honesty in their confession that left no space for pretension or avoidance. They spoke of things no one else dared to utter, revealing not just their age, but the invisible battles, the silent countdowns, the fear of being forgotten before it was time. Each word hung like a shadow in the air, impossible to ignore. And I realized, in that moment, that some truths are too heavy to carry alone. The shocking part? It wasn't just the revelation of age. It was the unmasking of a lifetime of hidden truths, a cascade of vulnerabilities that begged for acknowledgement. The friend listening could barely respond, yet their silence spoke volumes. I stayed there, heart pounding, knowing that I had glimpsed a private world I was never meant to see. And as I left, the echo of those words clung to me, a haunting melody of time, loss, and the fragile beauty of human honesty. Do you know the weight of unspoken truth? I felt it last night, pressing against every corner of the room, each word from their mouth heavier than the last. The conversation didn't just linger, it demanded to be felt, as if the air itself had transformed into something uncomfortably alive. Every pause, every sigh was a revelation of a life not fully lived, moments lost to hesitation and fear. And in that moment, I understood something terrifying. Sometimes, people carry more than their years reveal. The room felt smaller with every sentence. You could almost see the invisible cracks in their composure spreading, delicate yet devastating. They spoke of moments that should have been milestones, memories that never formed, connections that frayed without notice. And the most shocking part? They blamed no one but themselves. Their age wasn't just a number, it was a testament to the unfulfilled promises they had quietly buried. The silence afterward was deafening, a weight that pressed against the walls and seeped into my own chest. Have you ever felt your heart race in someone else's story? That's what happened when I heard them describe the fear of being overlooked, of fading into insignificance before their life had truly begun. They spoke with an intensity that made time itself seem fragile, like it could shatter in their hands. And each revelation carried a subtle cruelty, because it forced me to see the truth of mortality, the invisible line that grows longer with each passing year. Their words were a mirror, and it reflected more than just them. What's even more staggering? The confessions didn't stop at regrets. They ventured into dreams abandoned for convenience, passions silenced by doubt, and connections lost to the quiet march of days. Every word was layered with desperation, yet threaded with a strange, haunting beauty. Listening to them was like watching a storm build inside a person, silent but ferocious, until the sky itself seemed about to break. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, because the truth demanded nothing less than my full attention. And then came the moment that stopped me. The friend they confided in asked nothing, offered nothing, and yet their silence amplified every word. It was as if the universe itself had paused to hear the story of a life half told. I realized then that these were not merely words, they were a confession to existence itself, a plea for acknowledgement before it was too late. And when I finally stepped away, the weight of that night stayed with me, a reminder that behind every ordinary face lies a world of unspoken truths, waiting to be discovered. My beloved child, do you ever feel the quiet terror of your own reflection? Last night, as I listened, I realized that age is more than numbers, it is a silent witness to every choice, every regret, every stolen moment we barely notice. Their voice trembled, not from weakness, but from the unbearable weight of truth they had carried alone for years. And in that trembling, there was a story that demanded to be felt, a story that would haunt anyone who truly listened. The words came like a storm wrapped in velvet. They weren't angry. They weren't dramatic. They were sharp, precise, and terrifyingly honest. Each sentence sliced through the comfort of normalcy, revealing scars invisible to the casual eye. They spoke of opportunities abandoned, promises broken to themselves more than anyone else, and the deep, gnawing fear that time was slipping through fingers they didn't even realize were empty. I could feel my own chest tighten with every word. Have you ever been struck by the fragility of a human soul? That night, I was. Their confession wasn't just about age. It was about the moments that never returned, the love that was never claimed, the laughter that faded before it could fully bloom. There was an urgency in their tone, a desperate need to unburden a lifetime of silent pain. And yet, there was also an unexpected beauty, a truth so raw that it left me breathless. Each revelation was a needle threading through the fabric of what I thought I knew about them. And then, the revelation hit like lightning. They admitted to secrets no one should carry alone, choices they regretted, and a fear of becoming invisible before the world even noticed. Their friend listened, stunned, silent, as though absorbing the gravity of every word. It was one of those moments where reality itself seemed suspended, the kind that makes your heart pound and your mind race. I realized that sometimes, the most ordinary people conceal universes of complexity that will only surface in the quietest, most intimate moments. But here's what truly shook me. The fear, the regret, and the raw vulnerability weren't just theirs, they were universal. Every listener, myself included, could feel a cold recognition, a mirror held up to our own unspoken truths. And as I walked away, the echoes of their confession didn't fade, they lingered, a haunting reminder that life is short, and every moment wasted in silence is a moment stolen from the person you could have been. The night left me changed, aware that behind every casual conversation lies a hidden world of stories waiting to be heard. My beloved child, have you ever felt a secret claw at your chest? Last night, I witnessed a confession that was more than words. It was a raw, unfiltered glimpse into a life lived in quiet desperation. They spoke of time as if it were a relentless predator, each year devouring pieces of them they could never reclaim. And yet, the most haunting part wasn't the age itself, it was the knowledge that every moment wasted was a story they could never rewrite. The air around us seemed to thicken. Every syllable they spoke carried gravity, a pull that made it impossible to look away. They admitted to the quiet erosion of self-confidence, the invisible battles fought behind smiles, and the fear that their best years had quietly slipped by while the world remained blissfully unaware. Their friend could barely meet their eyes, as if the sheer honesty of the confession demanded reverence. I felt my own pulse quicken, caught in the shockwave of someone bearing their soul. Do you know what it's like to hear someone regret their own existence? That night, I did. They spoke of dreams abandoned too early, opportunities avoided out of fear, and love they had let pass, believing they weren't worthy. Each word was a hammer striking the fragile walls of pretense we all hide behind. And in the pauses between their sentences, the unspoken truths roared louder than anything said aloud. I realized then that age is never just a number, it's a measure of all the moments we let slip by without truly living. And then came a revelation that froze time itself. They confessed fears that most never dare to acknowledge, the dread of irrelevance, of fading into obscurity before making any real mark, of being unnoticed even by those who claim to love them. Their vulnerability was staggering, their honesty brutal yet beautiful. In that room, every breath felt heavy with significance. It was a silent storm, yet more powerful than any words could describe. I knew I was witnessing a turning point, a moment that could redefine their life, and perhaps even the lives of those listening. The truth is shockingly universal. Listening to them, I realized that everyone, at some point, fears being forgotten, fears wasted time, fears the invisible chains of their own hesitation. Their confession wasn't just about age, it was about humanity itself, the delicate thread we all walk between potential and regret. And when the night finally ended, the echoes of their words clung to me like shadows, impossible to shake. I left with a new awareness: life is fleeting, truths are heavy, and sometimes, the most powerful moments come in the quiet, in the unguarded, in the confessions whispered to a friend. My beloved child, can you hear the sound of a soul unraveling? Last night, I did. I heard confessions that were not just about age, but about the invisible weight of every choice they had ever made. Each word trembled with the gravity of years silently endured, regrets carefully hidden, and dreams quietly abandoned. And yet, in that trembling, there was an urgency, a desperate need to be understood before it was too late. I felt like a witness to a life being unveiled in its rawest form. The room felt alive with unspoken truths. Their voice, fragile yet piercing, revealed a landscape of emotional scars few could even imagine. They spoke of love lost, chances never taken, and moments stolen by hesitation. And the most shocking part? They confessed these not with anger, but with a haunting vulnerability that demanded attention. Each pause carried more weight than words, a silence that screamed with the echoes of a lifetime of hidden struggles. Have you ever felt the sting of inevitability? That night, I did. They admitted to fears that many carry but few dare to voice, the dread of being forgotten, the terror of wasted years, the haunting sense that life had passed by while they were frozen in place. Every confession was a mirror, reflecting not just their own life, but the potential regrets of anyone who truly listened. The intensity was overwhelming, impossible to ignore, as if every heartbeat in the room synced with the pulse of their truth. Then came a revelation that left me breathless. They revealed the deepest, most intimate fear of all, the fear of never becoming the person they hoped to be. Each word was weighted with a lifetime of longing and self-doubt, and I realized that their age was only the surface of a far deeper story. Their friend listened, transfixed, as if the gravity of what was being shared demanded reverence. And in that silence, the unspoken promise was clear: some truths can only be felt, not spoken. The final truth is unavoidable. Listening to them, I understood that time spares no one. Their confession was not just a recounting of years, it was a testament to the fragility of human existence, the urgency to live fully before it's too late, and the haunting power of honesty. When I finally stepped away, the words lingered, heavy and impossible to shake. They left me with an undeniable realization: life is fleeting, every moment counts, and sometimes, a single night can reveal more than a lifetime of appearances ever could. My beloved child, have you ever watched someone peel away every layer of themselves? Last night, I did. I saw a lifetime condensed into whispered words, each confession more raw than the last. They didn't just speak about age, they revealed the invisible battles, the stolen joys, the dreams postponed for reasons that no one else could understand. And in that quiet, trembling voice, there was a truth so powerful it demanded to be felt rather than heard. The room seemed suspended in time. Every word hung heavy, every pause stretched into eternity. They spoke of nights spent wondering if they had wasted their chances, of moments they let slip by unnoticed, and the creeping fear that life might pass them by entirely. Their friend listened, silent and immobile, because no response could measure the weight of what was being shared. And I realized then that these words were not just theirs, they were the echoes of every unspoken fear any of us carries. Do you feel the gravity of living too cautiously? That's what I experienced. They confessed to avoiding risks, suppressing passions, and silencing their own desires out of fear of failure. And yet, the pain wasn't bitterness, it was the haunting clarity of realization. Each word struck like lightning, illuminating the invisible regrets we all try to hide from ourselves. I could feel their life in every syllable, every quiver of the voice, every unspoken plea for understanding. And then came the moment that will never leave me. They admitted that their age was not a mark of achievement, but a tally of what they had not dared to do. There was a raw vulnerability in that admission that left the air almost unbearable. You could feel it in the room, the weight of lost time, the fear of being invisible, and the silent scream of unfulfilled potential. Their friend, still silent, became a mirror for anyone listening, a reflection of the moments we might one day wish we had claimed. The final truth of that night is searing. Life does not wait. Time is relentless. And every single moment carries the potential to be either squandered or celebrated. Listening to them, I felt the haunting clarity of mortality, the urgency to live authentically, and the fragile beauty of human honesty. When I finally walked away, the echoes of that night clung to me, a reminder that the most extraordinary revelations often come in the quietest moments, whispered between hearts brave enough to be vulnerable. My beloved child, have you ever felt someone's soul speak louder than their words? Last night, I did. I heard a confession that wasn't just about age, it was about the invisible battles, the silent regrets, and the dreams abandoned long before they could bloom. Every word was laced with urgency, as if they were racing against time itself, desperate to unburden a lifetime of truths. I realized then that some confessions can shatter the heart without a single scream. The air was thick with unspoken tension. Every sentence they uttered revealed layers of vulnerability most people hide from the world. They spoke of opportunities ignored, passions silenced, and love never fully pursued. And the most shocking part? They were not blaming anyone but themselves. The quiet guilt and sorrow carried more weight than any anger could. I could feel the room constrict with the gravity of their honesty, each word pressing into my chest like a physical force. Do you understand the terror of wasted potential? I could feel it in every quiver of their voice. They admitted to choices made out of fear, to moments avoided for the sake of comfort, and to the haunting realization that time had been slipping by unnoticed. Every pause was charged, every glance heavy with the understanding that life waits for no one. Their confessions were not just personal, they were a mirror to everyone listening, forcing reflection on the years we too often squander silently. And then came the moment that stopped time. They revealed a fear that few ever voice, the dread of becoming invisible before leaving a mark on the world, of fading quietly into irrelevance. Their words hit with the precision of truth, cutting through pretense and leaving nothing but raw emotion. Their friend remained silent, as if the magnitude of what was shared demanded nothing less than full witness. I realized then that we rarely hear this level of honesty, so pure, so intense, that it leaves you changed forever. The haunting reality is this. Age is not just a number. It is a measure of our choices, our courage, our willingness to claim life before it slips away. Listening to them, I felt both fear and clarity, the fear of time lost, and the clarity that each moment carries infinite power. When I finally stepped away, the echoes of their words lingered, refusing to fade. That night taught me that the most extraordinary truths often emerge not in grand gestures, but in quiet confessions shared with someone brave enough to listen. My beloved child, have you ever felt someone's entire life unfold in a single night? Last night, I did. Every word they whispered to their friend was a heartbeat of truth, a pulse of vulnerability that refused to be ignored. They didn't merely talk about age, they unveiled the invisible chains of doubt, regret, and missed opportunities that had quietly shaped every day of their life. Listening felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing a single moment could change everything. The atmosphere was electric with revelation. Each confession peeled back layers I never imagined existed. They spoke of choices abandoned in fear, dreams deferred for comfort, and love left unspoken because of self-doubt. And the most shocking detail? They spoke not with resentment, but with a quiet sorrow so profound it made every silence between words feel like a chasm. I could almost hear time itself holding its breath, listening to a story that demanded attention. Have you ever felt the weight of another's regrets? That night, I did. They revealed fears that many carry but few articulate, the fear of irrelevance, the terror of fading into the background, and the haunting thought that life's best moments might already be behind them. Each word was like a key unlocking a world of hidden truths, leaving everyone present suspended in a mixture of shock and empathy. I felt the undeniable pull of urgency, the reminder that life can vanish quietly if we do not seize it. And then, the most gut-wrenching revelation came. They admitted to feeling invisible, not because the world ignored them, but because they had silenced their own voice for too long. Their age was not the enemy, it was a silent witness to the roads they hadn't taken, the words they hadn't spoken, and the passions they hadn't dared to pursue. Their friend remained silent, but the weight of the confession was impossible to ignore. I realized then that some truths are so intense, they demand to be felt rather than rationalized. The night ended, but the echoes never left. Listening to their story, I understood that life is more fragile and fleeting than we allow ourselves to admit. Age is a marker not just of time past, but of opportunities embraced, or missed. And the most unforgettable part? The lesson was universal. Behind every ordinary face is a universe of untold stories, hidden fears, and silent confessions, waiting for someone courageous enough to truly listen. When I finally stepped into the quiet of the night, their words stayed with me, haunting, powerful, and impossible to forget. My beloved child, have you ever felt a life expose itself in whispers? Last night, I did. Every word they spoke to their friend was like a shard of truth, sharp and unrelenting. They weren't merely talking about age, they were unraveling a lifetime of hidden fears, quiet regrets, and moments never seized. Each confession carried the weight of years, yet it was their trembling honesty that cut deepest. I realized then that some nights are not meant to be forgotten, they are meant to awaken us. The room seemed to hold its breath. Each sentence revealed scars invisible to the world. They spoke of missed chances, silenced ambitions, and love that remained unclaimed because of hesitation. And the shocking part? There was no anger, no bitterness, only the raw, unfiltered sorrow of a life partially lived. The silence between their words was almost louder than the words themselves, as if the space around us recognized the gravity of the truths being shared. Have you ever been paralyzed by someone else's vulnerability? That night, I was. They revealed fears that many feel but dare not admit, the dread of fading into nothingness, the regret of letting life slip quietly by, the anxiety that their best years might already be behind them. Each word struck like a bell tolling a warning, echoing through the room and into my own chest. I felt the urgent weight of mortality pressing down, demanding attention. And then came a revelation that made the air electric. They confessed to silencing themselves for too long, letting years pass while waiting for permission to live fully. Their age wasn't the enemy, it was the witness to all the roads they hadn't taken, the words they hadn't spoken, and the dreams they hadn't pursued. Their friend remained still, absorbing the weight of each confession. I realized in that moment that these words were more than confessions, they were lessons in courage, vulnerability, and the power of honesty. The final truth of the night was searing. Life does not wait. Time is unrelenting. Every moment is an opportunity to act, speak, and live authentically. Listening to their story, I felt the gravity of existence itself, the fragile beauty of human honesty, and the haunting clarity that our choices define us more than our years ever could. When I finally left, the echoes of their words clung to me, impossible to shake, a reminder that extraordinary truths often come quietly, in the moments we least expect, but never forget. My beloved child, have you ever witnessed someone's soul bleed in silence? Last night, I did. The confessions I overheard were not about trivial complaints or fleeting worries, they were the raw, unfiltered essence of a life grappling with its own passage of time. Every word they whispered to their friend was layered with regret, hope, fear, and a desperate yearning to be understood before it was too late. I felt as if I had stepped into a sacred space where nothing could remain hidden. The atmosphere was almost unbearable. Each revelation peeled back layers of their life that no one else could see. They spoke of doors never opened, words never spoken, and love never pursued, not for lack of desire, but for fear of failure and rejection. And the most shocking truth? They carried all of this quietly, alone, until that night. Every pause between their sentences was pregnant with meaning, a silence so heavy it could crush the unwary listener. I could feel my own heart racing with every revelation. Have you ever felt the gravity of someone else's regrets? That night, I did. They confessed fears that many share but few dare to voice, the dread of irrelevance, the haunting thought that life's most precious moments might already be behind them, and the bitter sting of opportunities wasted. Their voice trembled, not out of weakness, but out of the sheer weight of truth. Every syllable landed like a stone thrown into a still lake, rippling with unspoken consequences. And then, the most shocking confession emerged. They admitted that the real terror wasn't aging, it was the thought of never truly living. That their years had not been counted merely by time, but by experiences avoided, love restrained, and courage withheld. Their friends stayed silent, awed, almost paralyzed by the enormity of the honesty laid bare. I realized then that some truths are too vast to be fully absorbed, they demand reflection, and they demand change. The final, unforgettable lesson of the night was this. Life is fleeting. Time is relentless. Every day, every hour, every moment carries the power to transform, to heal, to risk, to love. Listening to their words, I felt an undeniable clarity. Age is nothing without experience, and existence is hollow without courage. When I finally left, the echoes of that night followed me, impossible to ignore. They reminded me, and will remind anyone who listens, that the most extraordinary revelations often come quietly, in whispers, to those brave enough to hear, to feel, and to act before time slips away.